Hi there, welcome to the Telegraph's In Conversation. My name's Robbie Collin and I'm joined today by Darren Aronofsky, the director of Noah, and Jennifer Connelly, who plays Name, Noah's wife in the film. Now, Jennifer, Name is not a character that people who are familiar with the Noah story will perhaps heard of. She's barely mentioned in the Bible and I don't think is referred to by name. So how did you kind of develop that character? Where did you build her up from?
Well, Darren actually and Ari Handel did more of the heavy lifting. When I first read the script, they had already penned her as a very interesting and complex character. She is a very devoted wife, a very devoted mother, but also incredibly strong, emotionally and also physically. I started in the way that I usually approach work, which is gathering information. And I was interested in learning what archaeologists had to say about a woman living at that time, what kind of work she might be doing, how she might have been spending her days, and also what the Bible had to say beyond Genesis. And I found some inspiration there.
So Darren, when you were writing the script, what sources did you look to for inspiration for those parts of the story that aren't found in the Bible?
It more came out of the themes of the film, and look, it's clearly a modern take on a character set in that time, but you have to do that. You sort of take these big ideas and big themes and sort of adapt them for us as 21st century people. If this was made 100 years ago, it would be very different characters. So we always knew that Name was going to be a very, very strong character. And have some type of balance with kind of the things that Noah was going through in the film.
So what then was your first encounter with the story of Noah, and what was it about the story that made you think this will make a great film?
Well, I think we all are exposed to the Noah story, as kids. We've all heard it, and that was really interesting to me because, it's sold as a kid's story. It's really a nursery rhyme and the kid toy and stuff, but when you actually look at the material, it's the first apocalypse story. It's a much, much darker and much intense story. It's about the end of civilization. And so for us, it was like, okay, well, why has it turned into this fable when it's actually much more powerful in its mythical strength about the end of the world? And there's this great cautionary tale about if you corrupt the world and you fill your heart with violence, you'll be punished and destroyed.
And you've been keen to make the film for years, right? This isn't a kind of a studio project that came to you.
No. When I was 13, I wrote a poem on Noah, and it won a contest. And so Noah was like, oh, there's something there. And then when I started to make films, I was thinking, why hasn't anyone done the Old Testament in 50 years since Cecil B. DeMille's time? When we have all these new 21st century technology to bring the Creator's miracles to life, it could be really great. And then the more I looked at it, the more I saw this incredible moral story about wickedness and sin and about justice and mercy and all these big themes that really relate to us in present day.
So when you were working on Requiem For A Dream together, I think it was 14 years ago?
No. 3 years, it was 3 years ago.
Were you discussing the project then at all?
No, we didn't talk about it. But she's actually the first person I thought about while working on the script. I was like, wow, Jennifer would be perfect for this. Then when Russell started to appear, I was like, ooh, they work together. Is that going to be an issue? But I was like, that's so long ago and the roles are so different. It didn't matter. I need to have Jennifer in it. But Jennifer was the only actor I was thinking about while writing the script.
Jennifer, a lot of people are very spiritually invested in the Noah story. I mean, as an actor, when you come to that kind of role, does that give you pause for thought? Do you think there's people I have to appease with my portrayal here of Noah's wife? Or on the other hand, does it give you a chance to kind of shake things up a bit?
Well, I felt there was a real sense of responsibility. I didn't want to go into it uninformed. But I think the whole film, I think Darren's telling of the story is bold, like everything that he does. I think it's incredibly innovative. I think it's dynamic. I think it's relevant to, people from all different sorts of backgrounds. But it is informed, and it is respectful, and it is true to the spirit of the story in the Bible at its core.
Were either of you worried about some kind of blowback from making the film, or did you kind of just seize the
I actually thought it was beyond that. I mean, because the thing is, it's not really historical. It's more mythical when you actually look at the pre-Diluvian world that's described. There's angels walking on the planet. There's the Leviathan in the oceans. People are living for centuries. There were no rainbows. So you're reading about a world that is not our world, and it's only after the flood when it starts to become historical. The Abraham story is kind of grounded in reality. The Moses story is almost a slave uprising story. Jesus is in recent historical times. So I never thought that people would have an issue with it because, and now that people have seen the film, there's really no issues except for literalists and extremists, which is not really, that for me, that's not a concern because I think there's more power in the poetry of the words, like the 6 days of creation. If someone's going to take that literally, it's just, I can't even have a conversation. It's so much more interesting if you say, okay, that's poetry. And that's a way to describe how the world was created to people 2,000-3,000 years ago. If you took the, scientific fact of evolution and brought it back, to people 2,000-3,000 years ago, it would be gibberish. You can't understand it. So now in present day, to say, okay, that was a beautiful, poetic, metaphorical way to describe the creation of the world, and let's bring that to life on the big screen, that's exciting. And that's what 21st century audiences, at least most of them, really want to see.
Was that what informed your decision to use computer-generated animals as well? Because I think a lot of people, they expect to see when it's Noah, the 2 giraffes and the 2 elephants walking in a neat line towards the ark. But obviously the animals here are completely different.
Yeah, because I think the animal kingdom is so vast and varied, first of all, ethically, to take, sentient creatures and bring them on set is wrong. Especially when you see Planet of the Apes, which was incredibly successful in bringing, animals to life. We clearly can do it now. So beyond the fact that it saves you money, as a filmmaker to work with digital animals. It's also because the animal kingdom is vast and varied, and to basically limit it to exotic animals that are in captivity so that it looks like a zoo is not really representation of the story.
Now, Paramount wanted to shoot the film, I think, in Hawaii or the Canary Islands, but you insisted on Iceland, right? That it had to be the Icelandic backdrop. Jennifer, the shoot looks like it was incredibly physically grueling at times. Were there times that you wished you could have been in Hawaii instead?
Well, I'll never say no to working in Hawaii. That sounds great. I haven't gotten that job yet, but I'm ready. Darren, I'm ready.
Let's do it.
But Iceland was magnificent. It was like nothing I've ever experienced before. It took a few days to kind of settle into its, for me, quite alien type of beauty. Yeah. But it was really extraordinary. So I felt, as I felt with really, it might sound kind of hokey, but as I felt really with all of the film, yeah, sure, it had its challenges, but they felt more like incredible opportunities that the likes of which I hadn't experienced before.
The hard part for me physically was all the surfaces in Iceland were uneven. And then all the surfaces on the ark, because we actually built the ark, but it was all built with logs, so you're standing constantly. And one day I was like, God, I couldn't sleep. My hips were hurting. They were aching. And then Maddie, my DP, was like, yeah, my hips were hurting. We realized because we had been standing on angles, and as children of concrete jungles, as we all are, you were always flat. But we were all like beat up from just standing like lopsided for 2 months. So that was for me the hard. Did you get hurt that way in any way?
I didn't have that. I remember one scene where
she's in good shape though.
I remember one scene we were shooting where Noah is going to plant the seed, and he's saying to the family, "We're gonna build an ark." Yeah. And it was very windy. Very, very windy.
Oh, it's crazy.
Crazy windy.
Crazy windy.
And Darren came up to me, he's like, so the family comes out of the tent. He's so, you're kind of doing this staggering thing. I don't really understand it.
I don't remember that. The wind was probably
the wind was so intense,
strong.
And there was a little boy, and he was sitting there, and he was falling over, and I was trying to hold him up and not fall over. And
no, that was a vicious night. That we dealt in Iceland. The weather was so incredibly powerful, and for a long time we tried to fight it, and then eventually we sort of surrendered to it, and we became the weather.
This is by far and away the biggest budget that you've worked with.
Yeah.
Was it a struggle to kind of maintain your creative freedom on a project like this, or did you kind of embrace ideas from other people?
Well, in the end, it turned out okay because eventually, we're very meticulous planners, so. When we got there, we only got specifically what we wanted, and and there were a lot of challenges. People wanted a different film because when we put the film together, everyone wanted this big sort of traditional film, but this film is very, very different. It's beyond people's expectations, and I think that scared a lot of people. But now that people are seeing it, I think audiences want to see something that's different.
I think that's one of the things that makes it so special as a movie, For me, when I saw it, because I have my sort of corner of contribution, but so much of that Darren did I didn't see until I saw it the other night at the premiere in New York. It's so bold, it's so striking, it's so extraordinary, and it's so deeply creative, and for me, it's so refreshing to see someone with, audacious enough to bring that level of creativity to a film of this scale. It's just magnificent.
And it is the first resurgence of Bible films as well. I mean, there's Ridley Scott's Moses epic is coming out as well later.
Excellent. I'm so psyched for that, I can't tell you. I mean, Tom Hardy and Christian Bale, it's great. It's fun. I mean, it's strange. I mean, everyone's been selling this whole idea that it's that Bible movies, but they've been making New Testament films for, since the Passion and even before that for a very long time. What's interesting, I think, is that there's 2 huge Hollywood Old Testament movies coming out. And I think it's a coincidence. I've been pushing Noah for 10 years, and then Ridley, I read the Exodus script. It's fantastic, and so it's just a coincidence that we're coming out this year. But now that, who knows what it's going to mean down the pipe? We'll see what it means. But there's not. I mean, I'm not sure there's that many more Old Testament. You could get into the Abraham story, and maybe there's some other stuff there.
Excellent, Darren and Jennifer. Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
That was fun.